The movie kicks off with a stern warning. School bullying is a global issue that could be happening right around us at this very moment. Enkyo City, 2011, stands as a silent witness to the struggle of thousands of 12th graders preparing for the most defining national exam of their lives. Amidst this insane pressure, hidden tragedies and violence start to surface. Chen Yen is a quiet student, studying at an intensive cram school specifically for the National University Entrance Exam, also known as the Gaokao. She lives alone in a cramped, dark apartment with the curtains always drawn tight. Her dad is never mentioned in the movie, and her mom is always traveling far away to dodge the debt collectors hunting them down. Every time the creditors come banging on the door, Chen Yan just hides in her room, holding her breath in fear. Chen Yan's mom is involved in an illegal business selling fake face masks and beauty products. A lot of customers had severe allergic reactions and were demanding compensation. Their family debt ballooned to hundreds of thousands of yuan. One night, Chen Yan's mom came home looking exhausted with swollen eyes. She hid the remaining fake masks under the bed. "I'm a victim too," she said in a raspy voice, "but we have to survive. Once you graduate university, we'll escape this hell." Chen Yan has one crystal-clear goal: get into Peking University in Beijing with a perfect score, and then take her mom out of the city forever. She studies non-stop, sleeping only 3 to 4 hours a night. Plastered on her wall is a countdown to the exam, 60 days left. With every day that passes, the pressure gets heavier. One morning at school, it was buzzing, as usual. Thousands of students lined up in the courtyard for a motivational assembly. They were chanting slogans. "Score 600, get into your dream university, never give up." But right in the middle of that fake enthusiasm, something terrible happened. A student named Hu Xiaye was standing on the edge of the school rooftop. Everyone was still busy doing their own thing until someone pointed up and screamed. Hu Xiaye jumped. Her body slammed hard onto the concrete courtyard. Blood splattered everywhere. The students screamed hysterically and crowded around to see her motionless body lying there. Teachers tried to push the crowd back, but the students kept snapping photos with their phones. Chen Yan, who happened to be walking by, saw Hu Xiaodia's body lying there, completely uncovered. Without a second thought, she took off her school jacket and covered the poor girl's face. This simple act of empathy would change her life forever. Zheng Ye, an experienced police detective, arrived at the school with his partner, Liu Yang. They took one look at the victim's body and knew immediately this wasn't just an ordinary suicide. Zheng Ye called Chen Yan in for questioning, since she was the one who covered the body. Inside the cold principal's office, Zheng Ye sat across from Chen Yan with a sharp gaze. Did Hu Xiaye say anything before she died? Did she have any close friends? Was anyone bullying her? Zheng Ye asked in a gentle but probing tone. Chen Yan answered with a face as blank as a mask. "Nobody needs friends at this school, sir. We're all just focused on studying for the exam." She lied smoothly, hiding the bitter truth she knew. Zheng Ye stared at her for a long time, sensing something was off. But without proof, he couldn't do a thing. The principal cut the interrogation short. "Detective, they need to get back to studying. The exam is only 60 days away. We can't waste our students' time." After Hu Xiaodi died, Wei Lai and her crew needed a fresh victim to satisfy their sadistic urges. They picked Chen Yan. The bullying started off slow, tossing Chen Yan's textbooks into the trash, pouring water on her chair before she sat down, and scribbling nasty words on her desk like "child of a fraud" and "daughter of debt." Chen Yan just stayed silent, trying to focus on her studies even though her hands were trembling while holding her pen. One day, in the school cafeteria, Wei Lai and her friends walked up to Chen Yan, who was eating alone. They pretended to be friendly. "Chen Yan, we heard your mom ran away from creditors? That's so sad," said Wei Lai, with a sweet but dangerous smile. Luo Ting added, Like mother, like daughter. You must be a scammer, just like your mom. They laughed loud while recording Chenyan's lowered head with their phones. The video went viral in the school group chat instantly. Chenyan's homeroom teacher, a middle-aged guy who actually cared, called her into the staff room. He had seen the graffiti on Chenyan's desk. "Are you being bullied? Tell me, the school will protect you," he said sincerely. But Chenyan knew better. She denied everything. "There's no problem, sir. We're just joking around." The teacher let out a long sigh, knowing Chenyan was lying, but unable to force the truth out of her. The reality was, the school didn't actually care. They only focused on stats. How many students got into top universities, how many got scholarships, how many brought glory to the school's name. Bullying was considered just a trivial issue that shouldn't interfere with exams. Even after Hu Xiaodi died, the school just put up anti-bullying banners for formalities, but there was no real action. One night, Chen Yan was walking home through a narrow alley when she saw a group of thugs beating a guy to a pulp. That guy was Liu Baishen, known as Xiaobei, a street kid who made a living stealing and selling used phone parts. Chen Yan tried to call the police with shaking hands, but the thugs spotted her and immediately chased after her. They caught Chen Yan roughly. One of the thugs pulled her hair and yelled, "Dare to call the cops? Are you his girlfriend?" Chen Yan shook her head in terror. Another thug laughed cruelly. "If you're not his girlfriend, why do you care? Or do you like him?" Then they got a sick idea. "Kiss him. If you kiss him, we'll let you guys go." Chen Yan refused, but they started kicking Xiaobei, who was already helpless on the ground. "You want him dead? Kiss him now," they screamed while keeping on hitting him. With tears streaming down her face, Chen Yan finally kissed Xiaobei's bloody lips. The thugs burst out laughing, filming the humiliating moment with their phones, then snatched the 50 yuan and Chen Yan's wallet before taking off. Chen Yan slumped on the ground weak. Xiaobei, half-conscious, stared at her for a moment, then walked away. A few days later, Chen Yan needed to fix her broken phone. She went to a small shop in the black market. The shop owner tried to scam Chen Yan, claiming the repair cost 200 yuan for parts that were actually stolen. When Chen Yan hesitated, someone suddenly snatched her phone. It was Xiaobei. He checked the phone quickly and told the shop owner, "You think I don't know these are stolen parts? You swapped out all the original parts, scammer." The shop owner was terrified seeing Xiaobei. Xiaobei fixed Chen Yan's phone with expert hands, then handed it back along with the 200 yuan she was about to pay. Chen Yan looked at Xiaobei in a new light. This guy lived in a dingy boarding room the size of a bathroom. No mattress, just a torn sofa. No fridge, just a broken electric stove. Xiaobei dropped out of school in middle school because no one paid for his education. His dad left the family when he was little. His mom remarried and bluntly told him that he was the reason she wasn't happy, so she abandoned Xiaobei to live on his own when he was just 14. Xiaobei offered a deal. He could protect Chen Yan from anyone for a monthly fee. Chen Yan gave him a cynical look. "You can't even protect yourself. How are you going to protect me?" Xiaobei smiled bitterly. "Getting beaten up isn't the problem. What matters is that I always get revenge in the end. I always win." Chen Yan shook her head. "I'm going to go to Beijing. You're going to stay here forever. We're different." The bullying against Chen Yan escalated drastically. One day, on her way home, Wei Lai and her friends beat Chen Yan up, taunting her. "You think you're a hero because you covered Xiaodie's body? We were so moved back then. But now, you're just trash, just like your mom." Chen Yan finally reported it to the police. Zhang Ye called Wei Lai, Lo Ting, and Xiao Miao in for interrogation, but the three girls had been prepped by their parents with expensive lawyers. They denied every accusation convincingly. "Chen Yan is our good friend, sir. We were just joking around. She fell on her own because she wasn't careful. We were even the ones who helped her to the infirmary," Wei Lai said with an innocent, angel-like face. Without witnesses or video evidence, the police had no strong grounds to detain them. The school gave them a light punishment. Wei Lai and her friends were suspended for 3 days. Wei Lai's parents, who were wealthy business owners, threatened to sue the school for defamation. Terrified of losing big donations from the Wei family, The principal called everyone in and forced a reconciliation. Chanyeon's homeroom teacher protested loudly, but his voice was ignored. Feeling like a total failure, the teacher resigned from his position. Wei Lai and her gang were furious at Chanyeon for getting them in trouble. After Chanyeon left the police station, she was secretly followed. Wei Lai and her friends brought box cutters and a cage filled with large sewer rats. They planned to hurt Chanyeon even more brutally than before. Chanyeon realized she was being followed and started running in fear through the labyrinth of the city's narrow alleys. She called Chanyeon multiple times, but the detective was out having dinner and didn't pick up. Chanyeon was truly alone. In a panic, Chanyeon ran to the only place she could remember, Xiaobei's place. She sat there alone, waiting for him. Just then, Xiaobei arrived and saw Chanyeon trembling in fear. Without saying much, Chanyeon whispered, "Can you protect me? I don't have money to pay you, but I have to go to Beijing. Please." Xiaobei looked into Chanyeon's terrified eyes and made a decision. He didn't ask for money. Instead, he asked Chanyeon to write in a notebook, "Chanyeon owes Bei one favor." Xiaobei gave a small smile. "I haven't decided what the favor is yet. Maybe just a meal together, maybe something else. But you have to pay it back someday." Chanyeon nodded in relief. From that moment on, Xiaobei became Chanyeon's protective shadow. Every day, Xiaobei followed Chanyeon from a distance. When Chanyeon left for school early in the morning, Xiaobei was already up and following her. When she came home late at night after cram school, Xiaobei followed from behind to make sure no one bothered her. Chanyeon didn't even always see him, but Xiaobei was always there, like an invisible guardian angel.
Their relationship slowly blossomed into a deep friendship. Chanyeon started coming over to Xiaobei's place regularly after her studies just to hang out. They would eat noodles while Chanyeon memorized physics formulas. Xiaobei, who never finished middle school, tried to learn from Chanyeon's books. "What math problem is this? Why is it so complicated?" he asked while looking at her book. Chanyeon laughed softly. For the first time in months, she felt comfortable with someone. Xiaobei opened up to her. He told her the story of how his mother bluntly told him that he was the reason her life was ruined. "Mom said if it wasn't for me, she could have remarried a decent man, so she left and abandoned me." Chanyeon listened with tears in her eyes. They were exactly the same. Abandoned, alone, fighting against a cruel world. They found strength in each other. One day, Xiaobei was randomly picked by the police to participate in a suspect lineup for a rape case. Xiaobei and his buddies laughed at the lines the suspect said to the victim, thinking it was just a joke. But while Xiaobei was stuck at the police station for hours, Chanyeon was left without protection. Wei Lai saw a golden opportunity. Wei Lai and 5 others ambushed Chanyeon on her way home. They dragged her to a deserted warehouse. What happened there was a worst nightmare come to life. They beat Chanyeon without mercy, slapping her repeatedly until her cheeks were swollen, kicking her in the stomach until she collapsed. Then they hacked off her hair with dull scissors, ripped her uniform, and stripped her down until she was almost naked. They recorded the whole thing on camera while laughing. "You dare report us to the police? Why don't you just die like Hu Xiaodei?" Wei Lai screamed while continuing to kick her. When Xiaobei finally got out of the police station and returned, Chanyeon found slumped weakly in front of his door. Her body was covered in bruises, her hair hacked off like a crazy person, her clothes torn and her eyes empty, staring at nothing. Chanyeon was crying silently, like a broken doll. Xiaobei, who was usually tough and cold, suddenly exploded in rage. His hands trembled seeing the girl he cared about destroyed like this. Xiaobei gently helped Chanyeon sit up. He took the scissors and slowly shaved off the rest of Chanyeon's hair to make it neat. "Don't cry. I'll fix this," he whispered. Then Xiaobei did something shocking. He shaved his own head completely bald. The two of them sat facing each other with shaved heads, looking like soldiers ready to go to war together. "You're not alone. I'm with you," Xiaobei said, as he held Chanyeon tight. That night, Xiaobei went out hunting for Wei Lai and her gang to get revenge. He only managed to find Wei Lai alone on a dark street. With a face full of rage and eyes burning with fire, Xiaobei threatened her, saying if she dared to hurt Chanyeon ever again, he would
end her with his own bare hands. Only 32 days were left until the national exam. Chen Yan studied harder than ever with her shaved head. Her classmates whispered when they saw her, but Chen Yan didn't give a damn anymore. Xiao Bei kept watching over her. Even when Chen Yan was in class, Xiao Bei waited outside the school fence for hours just to make sure she was safe. But Wei Lai couldn't accept defeat. The night before the exam began, Wei Lai came to see Chen Yan alone, without her posse. This time, Wei Lai looked fragile, crying and begging. "Chen Yan, please don't give that video to the police. I want to take the exam too. Don't ruin my future." It turned out their actions from the other day were caught on CCTV, and Chen Yan had saved the footage. Chen Yan just stayed silent, wanting to forget everything and focus on tomorrow's exam. But Wei Lai kept talking, poking at every single one of Chen Yan's wounds. Her mother's debt, her family's poverty, the humiliating video, and Hu Xiudi's suicide that she claimed Chen Yan should have prevented. Every word felt like a knife stabbing her. Chen Yan, who was already at her breaking point, finally exploded. In a split second of uncontrolled emotion, Chen Yan shoved Wei Lai hard. Wei Lai fell backward and tumbled down a long, steep flight of stairs. Her body slammed into a large rock at the bottom. Her neck snapped. Wei Lai died instantly, with blood pooling around her head. Chen Yan froze. Her hands trembled as she looked at Wei Lai's motionless body. She called Xiao Bei in a panic. Xiao Bei arrived super fast. Seeing the situation, Xiao Bei immediately made a cold decision. They had to get rid of the body. "Trust me, we'll be safe. You have to trust me," Xiao Bei said as he hugged Chen Yan, who was in deep shock. The two of them carried Wei Lai's body to a remote area and buried it with their bare hands in the middle of the night. The next day, Chen Yan took the Gaokao exam, her face pale as a ghost. She tried to focus on the questions, but the image of Wei Lai's face kept haunting her. The 2 days of exams felt like an endless nightmare. Meanwhile, a massive storm hit the city. A landslide occurred, and Wei Lai's body, which they had buried, was washed away by the mud and discovered by locals. The police opened a murder investigation. Zhang Ye immediately suspected Chen Yan. She was called in for interrogation multiple times, but kept denying everything. The bullying video actually made it look like Chen Yan had a strong motive. Xiao Bei and Chen Yan came up with a plan. They would pretend not to know each other. If the police closed in, Xiao Bei would take all the blame. "I have nothing, no brains, no money, no future, but I love someone and I want her to have a happy ending," Xiao Bei said as he hugged Chen Yan, who was in deep shock. The two of them carried Wei Lai's body to a remote area and buried it with their bare hands in the middle of the night. As the police started closing in on Chen Yan, Xiao Bei suddenly grabbed her and they made a run for it. They ran together. Xiao Bei explained that the only way Chen Yan could go to college was if he confessed to being the killer. Chen Yan refused adamantly. Suddenly, right there in the street, Xiao Bei pretended to sexually assault Chen Yan in front of the police to make himself look like a dangerous criminal. Chen Yan cried hysterically as Xiao Bei was arrested and handcuffed. The exam results came out. Chen Yan passed with a super high score, enough for Beijing University, but she wasn't happy. Zhang Ye came with news. Xiao Bei had been sentenced to death. Chen Yan was devastated and snapped, hitting Zhang Ye hysterically. It turned out Zhang Ye was lying just to get Chen Yan to confess. In the end, Chen Yan confessed everything. It was an accident, not murder. Both of them received light sentences and were sent to a juvenile rehabilitation facility. The movie closes several years later. Chen Yan has become a teacher, sincerely helping her students. On her way home from teaching, Xiao Bei, who is now free, follows her from a distance, still protecting her just like before. They smile, their bond will never be broken. And that is the end of this story.